Hello everyone. Today I'm here to talk about Give Yourself Goosebumps book number 37, Escape from Horror House. Now lately I've been kind of getting back into reading these Give Yourself Goosebumps books. I would like to, whenever I'm done eventually, do a ranking of them from least favorite to favorite. And recently I just finished reading through the first 22 books in the series, which all have the holographic covers. And the last few that I read were kind of disappointing. As you probably know, if you follow my channel, I haven't done any reviews for these books in a while. And the last few that I read, I didn't really care enough about, or it didn't really feel like they were that noteworthy to even talk about all that much or do a review for them. So what I decided to do for the rest of these that I have to read, all of the Black Spines, which is like the last 30 something books in the series, is I'm just going to kind of take my time going through these, and I'm going to read them in whatever order I want to, just sort of at impulse or at random, just kind of go through them. And I just pulled this one off the shelf and decided to read this one. This is book number 37. And Escape from Horror House. So this one is essentially about a poltergeist that it lives in your home, and you have to try to figure out how to get rid of it. Now, most Give Yourself Goosebumps books have two separate story arcs. Some of them have one central plot that you kind of follow. Most of them have two separate story arcs, though. And this one does have two story arcs to it, but they're essentially the same. They both follow the same story. So, in the first one, again, there's this poltergeist in your home, and you're basically trying to figure out how to get rid of it. And there's these characters named Madame Matilda, which is like a psychic medium, and then Marvin, this ghost hunter guy, and you can choose to pick one of them to help you get rid of it. And then in the other story arc, you are basically trying to figure out how to get rid of this poltergeist on your own, and then you also have like a couple of friends that come in and help you out a little bit. So yeah, those are pretty much the two story arcs in here. It's the same story, you just kind of have different characters helping you out along the way. And this one, there's really not a lot of setup or like building up or description to this. It pretty much takes this core idea of a ghost terrorizing you in your own home and just kind of runs with it. It throws you right into the action. There's not a ton of description or build up or setting or anything like that. Just takes this base idea and just kind of runs with it. And the first story arc that I explored was the one with Madame Matilda and Marvin. And this is the smaller of the two story arcs. And basically, you have some choices with these two different characters. You can choose if you want to pick both of them to help you, and they try to like work together. You can pick just Madame Matilda, and she will like hold a seance and try to contact this ghost. And then you can choose to pick Marvin, the ghost hunter, to help you, and he has like this different equipment, like these EMT readers and ectoplasm vacuum or something like that. So I do like some of the ideas in here. Ghosts obviously is something that we see a lot in Goosebumps, but not the way it's presented here, where it's like the poltergeist, you have the evil spirits, and you have like this ghost hunting equipment. Ghosts aren't usually presented in this type here in this book. We've seen it a little bit with the Haunter from the Most Wanted series. Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls a little bit with that one. There is some possession stuff in here too, which was really cool and unexpectedly creepy. So, like possession is something that, for whatever reason, that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. That's one thing in horror that gets to me a little bit. So, in children's horror, I don't mind reading about it. It adds a little bit of creepiness, a little bit of scariness to the book, and I can handle it. But you won't ever find me watching like possession horror movies. That's one thing for some reason that just gets to me a little bit. I don't like those kinds of movies, with the exception of like Evil Dead. Of course, I'm a big Evil Dead fan. Those are more comedy, kind of a lot of humor to them to sort of offset that. But yeah, there was some possession stuff in here that I really enjoyed. It was kind of creepy. I was not expecting that. Almost wish we would have gotten a little bit more of it, because there's not a ton of it in here. And then the story arc where you're trying to get rid of this poltergeist by yourself, and then also with the help of your friends, is the larger of the two story arcs, and the one that feels more complete as like a story. Both story arcs, I believe, have like two good endings each. And yeah, that's pretty much the story of this book. you're just trying to get rid of this poltergeist. There's not a ton of variety to it. Uh, there's some cool different scenes here and there involving this ghost and things that the ghosts do in here. That couple of the choices you can make reveal that there are multiple of these evil spirits in the house, not just one. But yeah, there's not a ton of variety to this book. So what I do like about it is the basic concept. I like the idea of having this poltergeist in your home and having that sense of like danger, not feeling safe in your own house, and the objective of trying to figure out how to get rid of it. I like this concept, but it did feel like there was a lot of missed opportunity there with this idea. It definitely feels like they didn't take this idea as far as they could have. And this kind of goes along too with some of like what I was referring to, the possession scenes in here and some of the endings. It just feels like they present the idea to you, but they don't take it very far. There's a lot of abrupt endings in here, which I didn't like. But it is a cool concept. This book did have a nice mix of both humor and horror to it. So like I said, there were a few creepy scenes that I was not expecting and some kind of horrific imagery. And there was also a lot of funny moments in here too that worked a little bit. I thought they were pretty entertaining. There was some nice comedy to this book that, again, I wasn't really expecting. But I feel like there wasn't quite enough of either to be like satisfying. It has this kind of weird tone to it where it tries to be both funny and scary, and it doesn't fully succeed at being either of them. But again, it does have its few funny moments, a few scary scenes here and there, but it just feels almost a little bit, I don't know, kind of disjointed. And there's really not a lot of substance to this book either, which I think is my main negative with it. Um, the objective of trying to get rid of this poltergeist isn't really that clear or focused enough for my taste. Um, in comparison to some of the other Give Yourself Goosebumps books, like Curse of the Creeping Coffin, that one has a really like nice objective to it, where the ghosts are like trying to take over your grandmother's house, and the graves are moving around in the cemetery, and you have to try to figure out how to stop it and not let them take over. And that one really pulls you into the story, makes you feel like you're there and kind of care about the situation and feel like you need to complete this objective. This one doesn't really do all that much to pull you in. You know, I think part of that is the writing. Now, I know there are a couple of these books to have confirmed to have been ghostwritten, and then lots of others are rumored. I'm pretty sure this one is ghostwritten. This does not feel like Stein wrote this. And the writing in some regards just feels a bit lazy, and it does come through with some of the endings in here and how some of the paths sort of intersect with one another. For example, there's one ending in here you can reach from like 2 or 3 different paths. It leads you to the same bad ending, and it just feels like there's just some padded page count in here. Like they just couldn't really come up with many more ideas or what to do, so they just sort of threw in some extra pages and then lead you off to another bad ending that was just kind of bland. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. So yeah, this definitely isn't one of the most well-written GYGs. Not terrible by any means, but there's a lot better out there. So I do think this book had potential to be a lot better than it was. Again, there were some pretty cool ideas in here, but then they're often cut short by abrupt endings, and it reminds me a little bit of Secret Agent Grandma, which is an earlier book in the GYG series. That one had a lot of really abrupt endings just when it was presenting a new idea or some kind of like story arc or interesting like plot point or plot twist. This one does have, it's not as bad as that one, but this one does have some of that, especially with like, there's one possession scene in here and it just feels too abrupt. I feel like it would have been cooler and kind of creepier if we would have gotten to see a little bit more of that. And yeah, I don't know. This one was okay, I guess. I feel like the positives and the negatives sort of weigh pretty evenly against each other with this one, and I settled on a straight 3 out of 5 for this book. I enjoyed it. It was fun, but again, it just felt a bit shallow and not executed the best way. It just takes this very basic idea and just sort of runs with it. It doesn't really attempt any sort of like game function. It doesn't really try to pull you into the story with any sort of like good atmosphere or build up or tension or anything like that. It's just it's very basic in its concept, and yeah, it was okay. It was fine. I enjoyed it. About an average Give Yourself Goosebumps book. So that's about all I have to say for Escape from Horror House. If you've read this one, let me know down in the comments. I'll try to do some more reviews, individual reviews for these Give Yourself Goosebumps books as I go along. I don't have the patience or the time to review every single thing that I read, but if I come across one that's noteworthy enough or I find enough things I want to say about it, I'll probably do a review for it. And then, like I said, eventually, whenever I'm done with this, at the start of the year, I planned on reading through all of Give Yourself Goosebumps. I keep glancing up here because this is where my Give Yourself Goosebumps collection is at. I planned on reading through all of them this year and then doing a ranking at some point. I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them this year. Probably not. We'll see. But I have been getting back into reading these a little bit lately. And I have found too, I don't know if it's just been my mood lately or mindset or what, but I have found that I feel like these books don't quite have the magic on me or like the charm for me that they used to have. Even when I first started rereading through some of these over the last couple years, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just getting older and it's harder to really get into these and enjoy them quite as much. But I mean, I still have some fun with them. It's just, I don't know, it's not quite the same experience. I can still get close to the same experience with the regular Goosebumps books. Maybe it's just because the last few that I read weren't really that great. They didn't appeal to me all that much, so it kind of got me into a little bit of a slump. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, Escape from Horror House. This one was decent, a little bit better than the last couple that I read, not by a whole lot though. But I am excited to check out some more of these Black Spines. A lot of the later books in this series, from what I remember, are really good. I think some of the ghost writing that was probably done in this series offered a bit more creativity to the series instead of just following the same tropes and things that R.L. Stine is so used to and so familiar with. So yeah, that's my review for this book, guys. That's all I have for today. So thanks for watching.